We are going over The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, and we are on week 5, which is recovering a sense of possibility. And I'm very excited about that because this is probably where we really dive into how spirituality connects to creativity. So if you're someone that identifies as like atheist or, you don't subscribe to a particular religion, I want you to plug in whatever works for you. I feel like we kind of forget that we have free will and that we are allowed to customize certain experiences to help us process life, right? I'm not talking about cultural appropriation when I say that either. Like, that's not what I mean. What I'm saying is maybe you believe in Allah. So if you hear God, God feels like, that's not it, then plug in Allah, right? Plug in Yahweh, plug in universe, plug in source, love, ancestors, angels, whoever it is that you call on to in your time of need. That's all that I'm saying. Okay. So this chapter, we kind of focus in on that spiritual aspect of creativity. And it's going to be a really good one. So I'm pulling up the notes now, giving people some time to like come in. So let me know how week 4 was for you if you did week 4, which is recovering a sense of integrity. Did you notice that there were a lot of experiences where you had to be very honest with yourself? Or did you cultivate spaces throughout the week for you to be honest with yourself? Let me know while I pull up the notes for this week. Okay. Okay, definitely cultivated honest spaces. Right? I just felt like it was such a natural thing for me to do this week. I was just like, "Okay, boom. I need to continue being real with myself and with others and that being okay and that not being like a big deal or issue." You know? Like, that's so important. And I feel like a lot of people forget that. We're so hyper aware of how other people are perceiving us and if they're gonna like us or not, and all these other things come up when we aren't even asking ourselves, like, do we even like this person? Do we even like being here? Are you having fun? Is this really what you want to do with your time and your energy? And having time to reflect on that and to be honest about that will do wonders for you in your creative journey because then you're really trusting the fact that what I'm showing up for is what I want to be engaging in. I've sat with myself, I've asked myself, and I am like, this is where I want to be. And then that makes it easier for you to be like, I love that you're doing this for yourself, but like, I don't want to be involved in that. Or I can support you in that, but I don't want to say yes to this project with you, or this collaboration or whatever the case is. And this is all important for us to know and to remember. You know what I mean? Hi, Jack. And yes, I have water, but we're sipping matcha right now because that's my business. Okay. I had a really fun weekend. My nieces came over and it was like just a whole bunch of kids. So I also don't have a lot of energy. So I'm like, "May the matcha come and bless me." But also too, talking about this topic with y'all, I feel like I'm gonna end up getting like a whole boost of energy. That normally is what happens when I go live with you guys anyway. So I'm looking forward to it. I have like my comfy clothes for today, and we're gonna have a good time, okay? Hi, Serene. Is it Serene? Serene. Serene. Serene Sky. If that's your name, that's a beautiful name. Like, wow. Just gave me such good vibes. Wow. Serene, that's such a beautiful name. Wow. I love that. Ugh, that was so good. Okay. I get distracted by beautiful things, so I do have to like center myself back. But yes, we're journeying through the artist way. We're officially on week 5, which is insane. We're halfway through this experience, y'all. So big. And it's so funny because the more that I dive into the artist way, the more that I find that there are people who hate this book or don't find value in the book. And it cracks me up because so being a Black woman means that most times, right? I mean, I will say it's probably a little bit better now, but when I was younger and I was getting into spirituality and wellness, I was pretty much the only Black person there, period, let alone being a Black woman. Like, I was the only Black person in the room quite often for years. Like, for years. You know what I mean? Studying energy psychology, going to the conferences, doing the yoga life. What are those things called? Like yoga life experiences for the weekend, like all these different things. I was constantly the only Black woman there. And I knew I wanted information, right? I knew what they were teaching me made sense to me and I needed to know more about it. So I adapted the information to work for me. And I think that that might be a part of like how I process information in general, but I will make it cater to me and my experience. And I find that a lot of people don't do that or are not aware that you have that ability to do so. So you can read something and still learn from it, even if you don't like it. There are so many books that I've read that I'm just like, I genuinely despise this book, but I learned so much from it, whether it's how not to write, right? So that people are not angry about your writing skills or how a character evolved, and I didn't love that, or learning about how they were still able to, like, get this thing published, even though I feel like maybe that shouldn't have been the case. Like, these are all things that yes, is it, like, not the best experience? No, but I did learn a lot from it because I refuse to waste my time. I'm not gonna be in any space engaging in any type of dynamic or receiving information that I cannot utilize for my own existence. Whether that means for me to not behave in such a way or for me to start adopting some of these qualities and some of these skill sets because I find them to be beneficial. Either way, I am learning. So I get really shocked when people are like, there's nothing of value. This book was not made for you. And I'm just like, okay, yeah. If we're being honest, it's made by like a white woman who was well adjusted and like and never talks about racism once in the book. Never once. That could possibly be a blockade to you expressing your creativity. And unfortunately, it definitely is. I could easily take that and be like, this book is trash. Just over that alone and be valid in that too, because that is crazy that you don't consider other people's experiences when you're talking about something as broad and as accessible as creativity and spirituality. Why are we not concerned or talking about other people? There's a lot to criticize about the book for sure. However, this book has been around for like 30 something years now, right? And it has helped so many people. It's also about getting what you can from the information that you have until you can get the information that you desire. And I want us to explore what that looks like for us in our learning experiences when we move forward because nothing's going to get in my way of learning what I need to learn. Not racism, not sexism, not classism, not the patriarchy. Like, nothing is getting in my fucking way. Like, I will learn what I want to learn, hell or high water. And I want us to adopt that sense of ruthlessness about how you inform yourself and how you engage in content and not expect it to always be like spoon fed to you, but also not to expect that people all teach the same. Like every teacher teaches differently and it can be the exact same book and you're going to get a completely different experience from each practitioner or teacher. In situations like that, trust your practitioner or trust the fact that you've been guided to engage and then see where it takes you instead of immediately dismissing it because it's not coming in the package that you desire it to be in. You know, I feel like we lose out so much on that. But like, we'll be flexible and stuff like that for like people that are gonna end up breaking our hearts. You know what I mean? So it's just like, if you're gonna be flexible in some type of belief, let it be around getting what you need from the information you have access to. I don't know. That's like a little PSA announcement. 'Cause I thought it was so interesting how many people are like, I gained nothing from this book. There was a thread from a Gen Z POV where they were just like, this does not incorporate like the stressors of capitalism and like what we're going through. It's like, no, it doesn't. Because she wasn't experiencing that. She kind of touched on it here and there, but it was not affecting her in the way it's going to be affecting other generations. You have to take that into consideration when you're consuming information, you know? And I feel like it's so interesting that we're not willing to do it with like certain types of spiritual books. but then we'll do it for like, I don't know, like cult classics like Frankenstein or like, anything from Shakespeare. We can easily interpret it and modernize it, but we won't do it for things that, you know, expand your consciousness or your sense of self. I feel like we're missing out opportunity there. But yeah. Okay. I said what I said. Let's see. Week 5. Yes. This book kicked my ass. I know. Same. I was like, oh, I'm being very honest. And I'm an honest person. That was something I definitely checked in with like my team, my people around me, just asked, like, hey, do you guys like find me to be an honest person? And they were all like, yeah, sometimes you're a little brutally honest, it could be a little intense. But yeah, are you an honest person? Definitely. And I appreciated that. And also reminded me too to make sure that like when I am expressing honesty, one, that is warranted, that people are even asking me for my opinion, because sometimes people aren't. And I can be so excited to share information that I tend to overlook that. It's not often because I've gotten a lot better at it because of human design, like understanding that I'm a projector and that's a plight that we tend to have. I usually take a step back. It's usually someone has to come up to me like, hey, can I gain your insight on something before I really engage? But I also have to remember, like, just because I see it this way, so blunt and so clearly, does not mean that other people see it that way. And I'll have to express it in that way. So that's what I was learning this week about my sense of honesty and really appreciating how honest I am and how much integrity I do move in the work that I create and how I live my life personally. And that people automatically see that when they commune with me. It's not, they're never thinking, oh, she's going to sugarcoat it for me or she's going to lie to me. They know I'm going to be honest and I'm going to do it with a sense of love. And there may be a bit of fierceness behind that. It's because I love you, though? So, yes, thanks for doing that. It's so good. Yes, Lo, you're really taking what's good and adapting it to where I appreciate that so much. It's so important to do that. I'm just like, these books are, you know, there are things in this book when you see some of my notes, I'm like, girl, this is racist. Like, what are we talking about, Julia? And then I'm like, you know what? What am I getting from this? Because I can be outraged over um the ignorance that is woven into a lot of spiritual texts written by white women. Or I can adapt because either way I'm going to have to do something. I'd much rather make sure that the end result is to my benefit, especially when it's because of ignorance, like things that are hindering me from learning something because they're not even thinking about my point of view. And I remind myself that that might be what I'm here to do, right? That will be where the gap is. I don't know if you guys learned this, but like in business school, you learn about where the gap is in your market, right? So that way you can fill that in. And it's the same thing when you're learning text. Like, where's that gap at? And do you have what it takes to fill in the gap? Or do you know someone that could fill in the gap? Because you might realize that like your homeboy really could lend an ear to this and let them know because you could also be the messenger. And those are things to like remember and experience. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. It was my niece. All right, we're back. We're back, baby. Okay. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, the way you bring it is so key compared to reading the book alone. Yeah, reading the book alone, you're gonna get through it. You're gonna get through it. But like, yeah, it's not the funnest experience. I hear where people are coming from with how they feel about the book. I think we're all getting to a point where we have the sense of awareness where we're able to like really lock in and be like, this doesn't make any sense or this is not really receptive. There are a lot of books that were considered cornerstone in certain aspects of spirituality, and like trauma informed studies and things like that. And we're looking at it again because a lot more of us are informed and aware. And we're like, we're missing a whole bunch of stuff here that is crucial to everyone's evolvement. I mean, to everyone's evolution. and we can't skip over that. So I appreciate the dialogue, but I just think it's so interesting that the more you see, like, a Black woman holding this book, the more people are like, "This book sucks." Like, why are we learning from this book? And it's just I don't know, it's a part of who I am where a lot of me entering into the space, I had to weave through a lot of white spiritual thought, and I had to say, "This makes sense. This is an absolute fucking no." And this actually makes me uncomfortable. I need to sit with it and figure out why. But it all resulted in me learning more and being more self-reflective and making sure that when I created content, whether it be around the information itself or something else, that I was being honest, first and foremost, with my experience and being aware of others' experiences, which is why I always say I teach from the point of view of a Black woman because I think that that is necessary, especially in the space that I'm in. But I'm also very much aware of how other people are going through life, how they're navigating things, you know? Like, my root is that I'm a Black woman, but I've experienced so many other things, being the Black sheep, you know what I mean? Being the weird kid, going through types of abuse, dealing with trauma. These are all things that are not exclusive just to me being a Black woman. So, like, yes, my root is there, but like also I'm a human being. We've probably had similar experiences. I really appreciate practitioners and teachers that hold space for both and don't try to prioritize one over the other, personally. But yes, all right. That's my PSA. We're going to start reading the chapter now. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, like, just get the information that you need, babes. So I want to preference this by saying in this chapter, she is really talking about spirit a lot. She's talking about God. So for those people that, you know, believe in something different, maybe you believe in Allah, maybe you believe in Yewa, maybe you believe in a certain goddess or your ancestors or your angels, whoever it is you call onto in your time of need, plug that in with the word God or source or universe. These are the words that she uses in her book. I'm not gonna stop every single time I say the word God and say, or whoever you call on to in your time of need. This is me prefacing that so that way we can save time while we're reading the chapter. And if it's not a spiritual source, then plug in love, plug in your family, plug in your creativity. Again, make it so it makes sense for you. And then whatever else doesn't resonate, leave that shit where it is. Okay. But I want to preference that because this is one of the chapters where she gets like really intentional about God in the process of co-creating. Okay. So you guys I want to make sure you guys knew that. All right. Week 5. This week, you are being asked to examine your payoffs and remaining stuck. You will explore how you curtail your own possibilities by placing limits on the good you can receive. You will examine the cost of settling for appearing good instead of being authentic. You may find yourself thinking about radical changes, no longer ruling out your growth by making others the cause of your constriction. So exciting. This chapter, rereading it again, I was like, "Oh, this is glorious, but it's also stressful." So there are a few different like sub themes. So we have limits. Limits is probably the longest one, but I do think it's necessary to go all the way through. Finding the river, we may cover. We may cover. If not, I would put it in the notes so you guys have it. And then the virtue trap. The virtue trap, I definitely know I want to cover with you guys. So we might skip over the river one, but I promise to have that in the notes so you guys can continue doing the task and all that stuff like that. All right. Limits. One of the chief barriers to accepting God's generosity is our limited notion of what we are in fact able to accomplish. We may tune into the voice of the creator within and hear a message and then discount it as crazy or impossible. Or, on the other hand, we take ourselves very seriously and don't want to look like idiots pursuing some patently grandiose scheme. On the other hand, okay, so that's twice, we don't take ourselves or God seriously enough, and we find that these grandiose schemes, with God's help, may fall well within our grasp. So essentially, she's saying, like, when you're tapping into co creation, and I'm going to just say co creation for the most part, because again, co create with whatever you have to co create with. But when you're tapping into co creation, We limit ourselves. We tell ourselves what is real and what is not real based off of what other people have decided is real and not real for us, right? And there's like this thread that's going around where it says like you might want to struggle in life, and that's cool. But me, I'm a whimsical bitch. Like I'm going to, I'm going to like use my fairy way to get up out of there. And it's funny, but it's also very honest in the sense of just because you have had a horrible experience with the situation, does that mean that other people are going to have that same thing? Just because you have felt limited, does that mean that other people are going to feel limited? So it's something for you to be very self-aware of to make sure that you're not projecting your limitation onto other people, but also for you to be aware of when people are speaking to you and you're sharing your dreams and your goals or your creative pursuits and they're like, oh wow, like I've never seen anybody do that, or I don't know how you're gonna get that done. Babes, you telling me that is not gonna stop me from doing what I want to do first and foremost. Secondly, it's a waste of breath and space. Either support me or be quiet. You actually don't have to tell me. Unless it's like physical danger and you and I have a relationship like that where I trust your discernment. But if we don't, oh, I love that for you. Keep it simple, right? If you have nothing kind to say, shut up. Like, just don't speak. You don't have to express these things. And I feel like, again, a lot of us do not utilize our ability to discern when and when not to speak, when something needs to be shared publicly and when something needs to go into your journal. And that's really important. Okay. Remembering that God is my source, we are in the spiritual position of having an unlimited bank account. Most of us never consider how powerful the Creator really is. Instead, we draw very limited amounts of the power available to us. We decide how powerful God is for us. We unconsciously set a limit on how much God can give us or help us. We are stingy with ourselves. And if we receive a gift beyond our imagining, we often send it back. Wow. Some of you may be thinking that that sounds like a magic wand chapter. I pray and presto. Sometimes that is how it will feel. More often, what we are talking about seems to be a conscious partnership in which we work along slowly and gradually, clearing away the wreckage of our own negative patterning, clarifying the vision of what it is we want, and learning to accept small pieces of that vision from whatever source gives us. And then one day, presto, right? The vision seems to suddenly be in place. In other words, pray to catch the bus, then run as fast as you can. We're going to pause here for a few reasons. One, to talk about the fact that we are limiting ourselves, that most of the things that you think you can't do is simply because you told yourself you couldn't do it. And you're probably not plugging into source to help support you on your journey. And that is one of the biggest things that you need to know, remember, and then practice. It's one thing to know that source God is unlimited and is going to and has the ability to pretty much give me whatever I truly desire. And I talk about true desire because a lot of us want things that other people have that really wouldn't benefit us or add any real substance to our lives. We just want it because we see it. And that's why a lot of us don't have those things because they're not meant for us to have. That's not your actual desire. But when you have a true desire, right? When you use that sense of integrity to know who you are and be honest with yourself and what you really want, God's source does start paving out the way for you to receive it. But if you start to limit your sense of belief in what it is you are capable of receiving in your life, you're never going to notice those patterns. You're not going to show up for the synchronicities. Or, like she said, you're going to return those blessings. That's why it's so important to be honest with yourself, right? Do you see how the chapters are building on each other? You have to feel safe. You have to know who you are. You know what I mean? Like it's building up for that reason, because then you get to a space now where it's time to co-create with Source. And Source is like, all right, babe, what do you want? What do you want? So I can provide it for you. And if you don't know what you want, or if you have like an idea what you want, you're going to get some type of response. And the best example I can give you is when I was younger. I say this example all the time because I think it's the best example. I would write and manifest, right? Like I'm going to be traveling all the time, traveling every day, traveling to new places. I can't wait. And I was getting frustrated because I'm like, I'm not getting on no planes. Your girl's not traveling. And my friend at the time was like, like, how often does it take you to get to school? I'm like, well, it takes like an hour for me to get to school, hour to come back. If I'm going to work, I'm probably like traveling 3 or 4 hours a day. She's like, oh, it takes like 3 hours to get to like DR from, you know, New York City. I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, what's this have to do with me right now? And then she expresses like, so technically you are traveling. Like, you're traveling all the time. You travel every single day. And you are going to new places because where I was working as a model, I would travel to different spaces that I had never been to before to like be a spokesmodel for the brand that I was working with. So I was doing exactly what I wrote. Did I clarify that I want to go to beaches, to new countries? No, I didn't. The universe did give me what I asked for sure. Almost instantaneously. I wasn't even aware of it. But because I was not super clear on my desire, I got back something that was like, but in me receiving that and realizing that this is not what I really wanted, I was able to adjust and say, this is exactly what I want to experience. And then I began to experience and started traveling out of the country and doing all the other things that I wanted to do. But that clarity is important to have when you are asking things from source, when you are willing and ready to co-create. Now, the next thing she said is that you start to work slowly on removing the wreckage. Like really the work you have to do is very different than the universe. We've talked about this. God's source universe does the how, right? We handle the ask, believe, receive, but we also have to make sure that we are clearing out our pathway so that we can receive the blessing. That's a part of that receive method. Making sure you don't have these negative beliefs that you can't have this thing or you won't be able to sustain this thing or this person won't love you or you'll never get into this program. Those are blocking you from getting to what it is that you want. They are just as powerful as someone saying yes to you. Because they could say yes to you, but because you don't believe it's a real yes, you could think that they're playing with you, right? Or you can dismiss it, or you won't even see the acceptance letter because your belief is that I won't receive this thing. Meanwhile, it's looking you dead in the eyes. Like, I'm right here. That's why it's so important for us to be aware of ourselves, to be honest about our desires, so that we can talk to the universe with authority. That's very important too. You're not just saying like, hey, if you get the chance, I would really like. No, I am ready for this. I want to experience this. This would make life even more thrilling for me. And I know and I trust in the fact that you know how to deliver these things. That's with authority, not with disrespect, with authority. And then the universe is like, okay, cool. I got you. Now all of a sudden your brain is looking for these things, right? I forget what that effect is called, but like when you look at a certain type of car and you see it and it really catches your eye and like, oh, that's so cool. And you see it everywhere, but the day before you didn't even know it. That's that same energy the brain, the same process the brain uses to call things into your existence. All of a sudden, you're in the right place at the right time. All of a sudden, you sit next to a stranger that can help you with this thing. That becomes that synchronicity that Julia talks about in the earlier chapters, and that evolves you so that you can begin calling in and receiving and sustaining what you desire. That's very important. The last thing I want to mention for this section is that you pray to catch the bus, then run as fast as you can. I don't personally agree with that. When I read that, I was like, that's not what I do. I feel like if we're going to believe in God, let's believe all the way, not halfway. Okay. Let's believe all the way. My God, my source, the entity that I call on to in my time of need would not have me chasing anything. I truly cannot understand the basis of chasing things, chasing dreams, chasing the bag, chasing money, chasing partnership. I will never understand. It does not make any sense to me. Why would I chase something that has come from me? The desire is of me. Why would I chase my own dreams? They're mine. They already belong to me. That has never made sense to me. So in that case, it's like, no, I trust that my source, my ancestors, my angels, the gods that I call them, the gods that I call, they are going to ensure that I receive what I want. All I have to do on my end is make sure that I'm aware of when it happens, that I don't send the blessing back, that I don't stunt my own growth by not believing I deserve these things. That's very important. Okay? All right, let me see how you guys are doing in the chat really quickly. Here we go. Yes, I do have trouble with God word. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. Yeah, just plug it into whatever makes sense to you. Like, plug it in. If I say God in your mind, it says universe, love, my grandma, whoever it is that you call on to in your time of need. That's all that really matters. And if you're not calling on anybody in your time of need, start building that practice up because you cannot be going through this lifetime by yourself. Please. There is a difference between suffering and struggling. Suffering has to happen because it's how we build up empathy. It's just a part of the way humanity works. Struggling is holding on to the suffering until it's become this festering thing that makes you believe that your life, you have to claw out of every single situation. And you know what sustains that thought? You think you're doing this by yourself. You're not doing life by yourself. You're not. You may not be aware of the other places or communities or, spiritual entities that want to connect with you, but you are not doing life alone. Get out of that. That is such a limiting belief. That is such a dangerous thought to have on replay in the background. That's going to cause you to have trust issues. It's going to cause you to limit yourself. It's going to cause you to be in situations you don't want to be in because you think you have to get it out the gutter every single time. No, you need to start cultivating your community. So if you find like what I'm saying, whoever you call on to, I don't got nobody to call on to, start building your community. Forget the rest of the lesson. You need to start there. Make sure you have people, make sure you have spirits, make sure you have an understanding, a way of life that's going to benefit and support you, as opposed to it hindering you or making you feel exhausted. I can't imagine having to live my life on my own. And that's not even me talking about the human beings that I get to interact with. I can't imagine living my life without my ancestors. I don't even know what it was like before I was even cognizant of them. I don't even know what that was like. To not have a belief in angels, in God, in Black Madonna, in Oshun, and Medu, the spirits that I work with. I don't know what it was like prior to them. And personally, that makes me believe that they were always there, whether I had the proper name for them or not. I was always covered. I was always protected. I was always loved on. I was never alone. Believing that you are alone, that is like that gateway to your own personal hell. You do not deserve that. Do not accept it. Okay? All right. For this to happen, first of all, we must believe that we are allowed to catch the bus. Just go what she's saying, okay? Like, I had to work through this myself too. We come to recognize that God is unlimited in supply and that everyone has equal access. Doechii actually writes a song about this. I don't know if you guys have heard it. If I can find the song, I will tag it in the notes. But it's actually a really beautiful song and her understanding this. And it makes sense now knowing that she went through this book before she blew up. All right. This begins to clear up guilt about having or getting too much. Since everyone can draw on the universal supply, we deprive no one with our abundance. If we learn to think of receiving God's good as being an act of worship, cooperating with God's plan to manifest goodness in our lives, we can begin to let go of having to sabotage ourselves. So good. This is for my overachievers or the people who are being really blessed in this season of their life. This is for you. Share your joy. Stop thinking that it's insensitive. I don't know where we got that from or how we guilt people into being submissive or hiding their joy. Especially as Black and brown people, we need to see Black and brown people having joy, being happy, despite of what's going on. Not for us to spiritually bypass and say, well, these issues don't really involve us. No, it's to remember what it is that we are fighting for, why we are activists, why we are showing up and we are wanting to dismantle things. It's so that we can experience this type of joy, so we can feel safe enough to do so. But if you think that your entire life is going to be a fight, I don't know how that sustains you. It does not sustain me to think that I have to wake up every single day and fight racism and fight sexism every fucking day, whether I want to or not. That is not my motivation. My motivation is so I can see my niece and my nephew laugh and play, so that I can have a slower morning, so that I can enjoy my spiritual connection, so that I can hang out with my sister and be safe to do so in public. Like, the joy. is what it is. And what she says here, if we learn to if we learn to think of receiving God's good as being an act of worship, that changes how you show up in spaces when it's like, well, these good things are happening to me, but I don't want you to feel bad about it. This really is proof that you are allowing Source to collaborate with you. And in so you doing that, you're experiencing really good things. You're having a great season. You deserve to share that. If you are in a season of flow or abundance, you shouldn't feel like you're being insensitive by sharing that. You don't know who it is that needs to see it, that will be inspired by it, who will be comforted by it. When I was going through my loss, people would naturally assume that I didn't want to be around children, right? Or that I didn't want to like see people, getting pregnant, having kids, all stuff like that. That is not how I felt at all. It was beautiful to witness that other people were still living and enjoying life. Even if I felt like in that moment, it was very hard for me to do. It helped my brain remember, yes, you feel very sad and you have every right to feel very sad about this experience. However, there are other experiences that feel better that you do have access to, and they are being presented to you right now. You're seeing them. Do you want to have that experience? Or are you not ready yet and we're still shifting through the sadness? Because that's also okay too. But not sharing your joy with the world, not sharing the beauty in your life only makes the world duller, only makes the world sadder. And we really have enough of that sadness and dullness to last us a lifetime. So please share your joy. Don't think that in you showing all the beautiful things that are happening in your life that you're taking from somebody else. It's proven here. It's not possible. If Source is unlimited, how can you possibly take from somebody else? Unless you are intentionally going out of your way to do that. And then that's just a really weird use of your energy and your time. I don't know why you would do that. Doesn't make any sense. Source is unlimited. That means so are your blessings, so are your miracles. So are the amount of people you get to love and interact with in this lifetime. It is infinite, just as much as you are. But are you allowing yourself to realize that? You know what I mean? Okay, one reason we are miserably with ourselves in scarcity thinking. We don't want our luck to run out. We don't want to overspend our spiritual abundance. Again, we are limiting our flow, right? By deciding that God is a capricious parent figure. Remembering that God is our source, an energy flow that likes to extend itself, we become more able to tap our creative power effectively. God has lots of money. God has lots of movie ideas, novel ideas, poems, songs, paintings, acting jobs. God has a supply of loves, friends, houses that are available to us. By listening to the Creator within, we are led to our right path. On that path, we find friends, lovers, money, and meaningful work. Very often, when we cannot seem to find an adequate supply, it is because we are insisting on a particular human source of supply. So good. We must learn to let the flow manifest itself where it will, not where we will it. Very important. This goes back to that understanding of like, you're not doing it by yourself, babes, right? That's one aspect. There's another aspect of if you feel like you are struggling through life, you probably are relying a lot on humanity and not divinity. And there's a delicate balance to both. However, if you had to lean on one a bit more, I would invite you to lean on divinity a bit more than humanity. Humanity is messy and very chaotic. And people are going to say yes to you because in that moment they really do feel like it's a yes. And then later on be like, girl, life has happened. I cannot help you. Right? But a yes to the divine is a yes all the time. Like it's a yes. It's not changing. Unless it's really going to be harmful to you and your experience, pretty much it's a done deal. So if you have to lean on one more than the other, it makes sense to lean more on the divinity and not humanity. One, the amount of pressure that you will feel relief from of like, I am not relying on this person that has this bias towards me, right? Or has this chip on their shoulder to get me through the door. I'm relying on source, God, whoever you call on to, relying on the spirit, the entity that created the entire experience to get me through the door. There's a different level of confidence that you move with. There's an understanding that pretty much nothing is in your way. What you desire, you can have. as long as you are clearing out those blockages, right? Making sure that your beliefs are where they need to be and showing up and listening to the nudges when they there's a method there, right? But I can't tell you how many times a situation looks like it's not going to work for me to the outside world, but for me, I'm like, yeah, it's mine. Like, there's nothing getting in the way of that. I've won scholarships that I don't even like benefit from direct. I'm just like, that's what I wanted, and I was very clear about that. I don't see why I wouldn't get it. That level of confidence is because I really am leaning on divinity for that. If not, this is something better. So if I don't get a thing that I desire, that means that something better is coming along, and I'm good either way, right? That's that win-win mindset that I talk about often. Like, it has to make sense for me and for the other people involved. Otherwise, I'm pretty much not doing it, which means that I do work a lot slower in my life, but people don't have a horrible experience with me because I'm thinking about how they also can benefit and win from this dynamic as well. And that's because of how I work with Source. When I'm working with Source, I'm always winning. Always. It is never lost. I want us to begin exploring that for yourselves to see if that makes sense for you. And hopefully it does, because it just changes the way you show up. You're not looking at your boss with such malice anymore. Like, you're stopping me from getting my raise. Like, I'm about to go above you, babes. It's above me now. When I say it brings me so much joy to do that, I just be like, oh, baby, don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it, queen. You don't want to give me this thing that I know I quite deserve, and you know I deserve it too? No worries. No worries. The ancestors, God, they got it. It's fine. You're good. You're good. Oh my God, you're so fine. You're good. You're good. You're good. You're good. I'm going to get what I want. I'm going to get what I want. Like, literally. If not that, then something better. Either way, it will always work out for me. And there's not one human on this earth that can prevent me from having my blessings. No human has that type of authority over my life. I would never give them that type of authority over my life, because I have lived in a space and time where I did, and I did not enjoy that experience, and I will not be having it again. Does that make sense? Does that connect? Let me see how we're doing in the comments. Okay. Yeah, exactly. With the traveling, yeah, I just didn't say it right. Once I got it together, I was like, oh, I gotta be very like clear. Otherwise, I'm gonna be having weird ass experiences. Good for me to remember. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. 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 Serene, do you know the Doechii song? I have to find it. But she literally says this exact sentence in there. And I'm like, oh, wow, this is so beautiful. And it's so real, because it also helps you to stop worrying about other people and who's going to get there first, right? You're now like, I'm just going to focus on what it is that I want and see how creative, how thrilling, how exciting this can be for me to experience. I'm not concerned about other people in the race that they're running. I'm not even running a race. I'm genuinely just strolling along, enjoying the scenery, because God really has me like that. That is the headspace where I personally feel you can create legacy from, where you're able to really let your creativity run wild because you are focused in on yourself and your connection to source and how to express that. That is always going to end up being something beautiful. Oh, so anxiety. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yes. I don't know what's up with my Wi-Fi. I don't mind my joy. No worries at all. Often when we can't find something, insisting on particular. Yes, 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 yes. It's all making sense. Okay, good, 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 good. Yes, it's called God. Period. To be a little bit on the nose. No, very much on the nose. I love that. Yes. Okay, cool. We're all on the same page, and I love that for us. So she has like this story that I'm not gonna read because like, essentially it's about like a writer who was in this abusive relationship with their like agent. Like, the agent was just not taking care of them as a creative at all. And the writer didn't want to give up the dynamic because the writer's like, look, this is like a top agent, like people see their name and like know they're about business. So even though they're treating me poorly, treating me terribly, I'm going to keep staying a part of the situation because it will be beneficial at some point in time, which is really unhealthy, by the way. Like, don't do that. Like, the minute you get the ick or the minute you feel like you're being disrespected, go. Do not stay longer. Because the only thing that's going to come from that is that something worse is going to have to happen for you to actually leave. And you're going to have a moment or a season where you beat yourself up because you knew you saw the red flag, you saw that sign, and you did not heed to it. You did not take it and be like, you know what? Let me exit. And you got to work through that trauma of doing that and kind of betraying yourself. Just skip all of it. And the minute you feel that it, trust it. Stop giving people the benefit of the doubt. I say it all the time. That does not make any sense. It does not benefit you to give people the benefit of the doubt. It really just allows you to continue getting played or putting yourself in a situation where you could be harmed worse than what you're already experiencing, right? And I don't want you to go through that. Don't play devil's advocate. Simply take it for what it is at face value. And if that person wants to sustain a relationship with you in the future, they will have to develop the skill set and have the resources to communicate what went wrong. And you can decide then if you want to keep them around or not. It's really that simple to do, but it does require practice because it feels very foreign to how society navigates communication. Okay? So essentially, she goes through all of that. And at some point, something worse happens. And she's finally like, I can't do this anymore. I cannot continue being abused by this person. She leaves the dynamic with the agent. That same night when she goes home, she's telling her husband, like, oh my God, the agent, I finally let him go, da da da. And the husband is like, oh my God, I actually met this other agent like 2 nights ago. And I was telling him about you. But I remember you already had an agent, but they gave me their number anyway. Why don't you give them a call? That's synchronicity right there. Right? Like, oh my God, I was holding on to this horrible situation. There was something waiting for me. Your blessings actually can never miss you. They're always waiting for you. My God, today, this is so good. Blessings are always waiting for you. Always. Always. It's just do you realize that they're there? If you're focused like this, you don't know what's happening over here or what's happening over here. So you're missing out on all the beautiful things. You're focused so fast on this end goal that you feel like you need to have at this moment in time so you feel fulfilled as a human being. You're missing out on the entire human experience of being inspired, of embracing wonder, of looking at the beauty of things. You're missing out on the synchronicities. It doesn't mean they're not there. They're actually there. You're constantly experiencing miracles, by the way. Miracles are constant. They never stop. It is this very weird, I don't know, like ideology we've accepted as a society that they're like these rare things or like these rare things that feel very fantastical. That's not, miracles happen all the fucking time. Like they're happening all the time, but we're not aware of them. That's really it, right? So with that being said, she was able to go with the new agent, build a whole new life. It was amazing, right? That's essentially the gist of the story. The other part to that, do you guys remember the image of, and this is based on Christianity, but maybe they have it for different spiritual entities. But I feel like everyone has seen this image, right? Because unfortunately, Christianity is forced on a lot of us. So bear with me. But it's an image of God, right? And he has like this big teddy bear behind his back, right? Big, huge teddy bear. And it's like a little person, like a child with this like really ratty old teddy bear that they're like clinging onto. And God has their hand out, like, just hand me the teddy bear. And the little kid's like, oh, this is like my thing. This is so symbolic of this story here, right? This thing that has been, that no longer serves you, that you've attached a whole bunch of memories to that don't benefit you, that are not putting you in a better position in life, that are not nurturing you or caring for you. You're clinging onto it, literally allowing it to cover yourself, cover your heart. Because you are so afraid. You're operating from scarcity. You're afraid to lose the memories. You're afraid to lose the feelings. You're afraid to lose whatever minimal access you think you have because you are holding on to this thing. As opposed to letting it go, opening up the heart. Because that's what it feels like when you hold on to shit that it really feels like somebody's pressing into your heart. I'm not being exaggerative. That's physically how it feels to hold on to things that do not serve you. It feels like constriction of the heart, and it feels like there's someone sitting on your shoulders. That disconnect from the mind body, right? We all have felt that way. Right? So you're going through all of that. Meanwhile, source, God, whoever you call on to, is like, I literally have something better for you. Like all you gotta do is just, I can't snatch it from you, even though I really want to. But that's not how we learn lessons. That's not how God moves. Just give me the teddy bear so I can give you what you want. Just give me the small, outdated thing that no longer serves you that's actually causing you pain, I will take that, transmute it, because that's what I do. That's who I am. And I'm going to give you something better. You're going to love this. And so often we do not receive the gift. We'll say, oh, but I loved him. Like we were really good at some point. Meanwhile, it's a whole better person waiting for you that's going to love you in ways that you can't even imagine. And you know why you can't imagine them? It's because you're still holding on to the old memories of somebody that does not give a fuck anymore. That's just real shit. And that's for relationships, that's for working environments, that's for family, that's for friends. Plug in whoever it is that you are holding on to that you should have let go of. Plug in the belief that you should let go of. Plug it in. And then ask yourself, are you willing to suffer and struggle with this old ass belief? Or can you be brave enough to let it go so that source, whoever you call on to, can bless you correctly? That is completely up to us. Again, there's that underlying tone of that we have self-agency. We have authority over our lives. We have to hold ourselves accountable. A lot of us don't like that idea. We want to be able to say, well, God didn't give it to me yet, so it's not mine yet. It's like, but you also have not opened your hands out to receive it. Low key, you're lying on God, because God definitely already gave it to you. If we're gonna get technical about it, you don't have it yet because you don't want it. You don't have it yet because you haven't made any space to receive it. You don't have it yet because you rather hold on to what you have, even though it is not doing anything for you. And when we're able to be honest about that, that's where we start to grow as artists and as human beings. Okay? Let's see. Here we go. Yes, often we can't find something such media. Just we went through this one. It makes all sense. Yes, God. I'm just going through. Yes, minute you're being disrespected or feel the it go. Yes, yes. Taking it at face value. Don't be the devil's advocate. Oh, thank you. Yeah, don't. When people say devil's advocate here, I'm like, and when did this happen? When did you meet the devil? When did y'all be? When did this happen? It's a saying. I don't understand the saying. I don't understand the saying. What do you mean you're going to advocate for the devil, for the wicked, for the evil? Why would you advocate for that? Why? If you have an understanding of the devil and how the devil moves, how it shakes, why? Why do it? Because that just sounds like you're telling me to invite chaos into my life for shits and giggles, for your shits and giggles, not even for my own, because I'm going to be the one going through the chaos. No. Anytime someone says that, and luckily it has been less and less because I'm very adamant about that. And I just find myself being in a frequency of people who just don't move like that. But when it does come up, I'm so confused. Why would you want to advocate for the devil? Make it make sense, babes. What? I'll never understand that. However, we do that in a way to make ourselves think that we're being intellectual and we're being considerate of people's feelings. I don't consider devil's feelings. So that doesn't matter to me at all. You lost me there, you know? However, if it's more of look at this other point of view, because maybe you're not seeing it from this point of view, that's a different story. That's not advocating for the devil. That's not looking at the worst possible situation you could be placed in and seeing how you're going to get out of it. That's a misuse of your energy. When we do those hypothetical things, it's your energy is precious and sacred. Yes, you are an infinite person, but you get a certain amount to work with in the seasons of your life. If I'm putting it towards hypotheticals all the time, or I'm choosing to figure out how to advocate for the devil, or I'm choosing to give somebody the benefit of the doubt, give them the benefits of doubt, of doubting me, doubting myself. I'm willingly giving somebody else that benefit. These are misuses of our energy. And it really makes you want to pay more attention to how you speak and the phrases that you allow people to speak over you and that you speak over for yourself. Because you start realizing oh, I'm actually feeding into my own chaos. I'm actually the reason why I don't have what it is that I want. But now I'm aware of it. And it is as simple as changing your language. It is as simple as letting go of an outdated relationship. It is as simple as changing your environment. Simplicity is usually the answer. However, we, being such complex people, right? With all this information that we have to consume and figure out, we make the situation so much more chaotic than it needs to be. We attach so much onto that thing we need to let go of or that space we need to get out of. Oh, this is where I grew up. This is my childhood home. Okay, but also you were like traumatized there, weren't you? Let it go. Go, some like my partner from like decades ago. This person does not love you the way you need to be loved as you are now. They're literally trying to force you to stay who you were so that they can remain comfortable so they don't grow either. It's actually horrible for both of y'all. Get up out of there. This is my job. I'm afraid I'm not gonna find anything else. This is where we go back to that understanding of letting source do its thing and believing in divinity more than we believe in our humanity. Because in situations like that, especially when it comes to our livelihood, our survival, it is very easy for us to look at the material and see the doom and the gloom and say that that's all there is. I'm just going to keep my head down and move through it, as opposed to saying, like, fuck this reality. I'm not actually going to continue to engage with this anymore. I am going to focus my energy and my time on getting out. I'm going to get out of this. God's source of I call on to, they are going to shift the mountains. Give me divine favor. Change the outcome in ways that people could not possibly freaking give me unprecedented favor, right? I want it all to get out of the situation. That's where I'm going to focus my energy on. Not on the fact that I don't want this anymore or that this is harming me or making me feel less than. We have to get into that headspace. We have to remind ourselves that we have the ability to do that. It is a practice. It means being in community. It means taking in information that is going to benefit you. It means really knowing yourself, talking to your source, connecting, journaling, writing, being amongst the arts, allowing yourself to really sit in your creativity, to have the courage to do something like that. But it is a very simple thing to do. Okay? Um, this makes me think of God has changed. Yes. When someone tells you who they are, believe it the first time. Believe it the first time. Mama Angelou did not. She ate down with that one. Like, oh, I thought they were going to be different, but like they have never been different. They've always behaved this way. Why would you think that? We project ourselves so often. And I'm going to drop like a little mini substack on that too. Of like, once I realize that people are just like projecting themselves onto me, that's why I don't care as much. Like when I say I don't care, not in a sense that I'm not a compassionate person, but in the sense of like if someone does not like me and they have not taken the time out to get to know me, I don't care. Honestly, they could not like me and have getting time to get to know me. I might not be a cup of tea. Both things could be true. I just really may not be compatible with you. That's no harm, no foul. Doesn't mean I'm a terrible person. Just means I don't work well with you. That's it. Like there are people that I know that I'm like, I'm not a fan of you, but I see why other people like you. That's it. Like there's nothing to dig deeper about. We just aren't compatible. Like I'm not gonna be compatible with every single human being on this earth. Why would I even want? That's just a lot. That's a lot. I'm okay with people not liking me. I'm okay with understanding that most times people don't like me because they are projecting fear, trauma, and other things onto me and have decided to link me to that. I don't have to engage in that. I don't have to change their belief on that or make them see that I'm someone completely different because honestly, I might actually need to be that for them in their journey. I don't know. I don't know because I'm not living their life. I don't know because I don't care to figure that part out because I need to figure out my own life and make sure that I'm showing up in the ways that I need to. That is how I got to the space where I don't care. Someone's like, "Oh, I don't like you. Lotus is like me." That I'm low key probably was. Like my goal was not to harm you, but if I did, I apologize for that because that's not my intention. However, are you projecting? Are you being honest with yourself? Is it that you don't like me and that I was mean to you, or that you were in your head and I said something that triggered an old memory and now you've associated it to me? But people don't think that much. People are not deep into trauma like that. People are not deep into um, the way that the brain responds and holds and stores information. And once I realize that those things are not happening, once I realize that you're projecting, I'm just like, oh, baby, you go live your life. Like, no harm, no foul. You got it. I become so much more unbothered. We must widen our view to experience fully. Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Miracles are so simple. Yes, I have a piano teacher who told me when I improv, write songs, don't think you're doing something wonderful. His name is Dr. Bragg. That is hilarious. Oh my God. That's hilarious. I'm just fully experienced this with family. Just doesn't align and serve. Yep. Making space to receive it. Devil's advocate. Yes, doing this seems rational, but often it's used to communicate doubt and fear, like don't quit shit job or at least exactly. Yeah. It's not beneficial to you. Okay with people not liking often do. Yeah. Folks oftentimes put someone else's face from the past onto us. Yeah. You know? And it's up to you to kind of like realize that that's happening and not take it offensively and not make it attached to your own self worth. Like, well, maybe they see that because that's who I am, like, or because they went through some heavy shit and they don't have the resources or the skill set or a safe environment to process it. And you are so centered and so sure of yourself in this moment that you actually are coming off as a soft space, right? As a safe space, but they don't know how to commune with that. So they're going to get defensive because I don't know how to experience this new space yet. Right? Like being a trigger does not necessarily mean that you are harmful. Sometimes you're triggering people so that they can grow. There are times I look back, I'm like, oh, it needed to be you to say this thing to me because of how much I love and care about you. Had you been a random stranger, I would have had a different response and I would have missed the lesson. Right? That brings me to when I was dating somebody and they had said that they felt unsafe around me. That should hurt. That was such a painful experience. I still feel the ache in my heart of like, wow, you don't feel safe around me. Granted, in hindsight, I realized that they were projecting. However, in that moment, instead of me getting defensive and saying, well, I don't feel safe around you, and I really asked myself, am I doing things that would cause them to feel unsafe? And if I am, what can I do to begin shifting that? That actually started the journey of me getting into therapy because I was just like, I don't know if I can witness these things for myself, but someone I love has just told me that they don't feel safe around me. And that has woken me up in a way where I cannot continue to be in an unsafe space. That just goes against my internal wiring. And it pushed me to get into therapy to figure out what it is that I'm doing that could cause other people to feel unsafe. And I was able to process that. But I was extremely triggered by that comment. That was almost a decade ago, and I still feel that like, "What?" You know? It's a big deal for people to feel safe around me. Like, it's a very important thing for me to be a safe space. So to have someone say like, "Yeah, I'm not getting that from you," it was a trigger. And how I chose to respond to it allowed me to grow from it. Because I could have easily pointed out all the ways in which I didn't feel safe with them. But I chose to hear what they were saying and then ask myself reflective questions and then get the support that I needed. Mm-mm. Yes, it's more about who they are. Exactly, Emily. Yeah, it's more about who they are. It usually has nothing really to do with you, you know? Sometimes it does, but most times it just doesn't. And I feel like the older that we get and the more information that we're being like given in society and through social media, like it usually is just more of a projection, you know? Okay. We went over this. I'm gonna skip the river part. Yeah, I'm gonna skip the river part because I really want to get into the virtue trap. I think that that's really important. Yeah. All right. Virtue trap. An artist must have downtime to do nothing. Defending our right to such time takes courage, conviction, and resiliency. Such time, space, and quiet will strike our family and friends as a withdrawal from them, and it is. For an artist, withdrawal is necessary. Without it, the artist is in us feels vexed, angry, and out of sorts. If such deprivation continues, our artist becomes sullen, depressed, hostile. We eventually become we eventually became like cornered animals, snarling at our family and friends to leave us alone and stop making unreasonable demands. We are the ones making unreasonable demands. We expect our artist to be able to function without giving it what it needs to do so. An artist requires the unkept An artist requires the upkeep of creative solitude. An artist requires the healing of time alone. Without this period of recharging, our artists become depleted. Over time, it becomes something worse than out of sorts. Death threats are issued. She's being dramatic, but like it's more of like a the farther you are away from your artist, the more starved your artist feels. So that's really the true term of a starving artist. It's like you're not feeding your creativity, not because they really can't feed themselves physically. Again, we gotta like really pay attention to the wording in life, right? When you have a starving artist, yeah, they're going to feel very vicious because they're not fed. It's like they're hangry, you know? It's like you're not giving me the nourishment for me to feel satiated. So yeah, I'm gonna be horrible. Why would you assume that I wouldn't be? I'm literally starving. I'm hungry, you know? Like it's to have real hunger, something many of us have never really experienced or we may have but for the most part, if you're like for the most part we haven't really felt hunger of not eating for days at a time, not having access to any clean water. Some of us have, unfortunately. But for most of us, we don't really know what that looks and that feels like. And because we don't have that intimate relationship with that type of hunger, we tend to kind of bypass it. And we don't realize like that's why you're moody. That's why you're snapping, right? That's why it's hard for you to be in a relationship. That's why anytime you see someone doing what you want to do, you feel the sense of jealousy or envy. It's because you're starving yourself. You're starving your inner artist. And it's something for us to kind of pay attention to. Okay. In the early stages, these death threats are issued to our intimates. I could kill you when you interrupt me. I've never said that, but I mean, maybe someone has, right? Woe to the spouse who doesn't like take the hint. Woe to the hapless child who doesn't give you solitude. You're making me very angry. Over time, if our warnings are ignored and we deem to stay in whatever circumstance, marriage, job, friendship, requires threats and warnings, homicide gives way to suicide. So this is metaphorically speaking, right? You go from wanting to, honestly, maybe not metaphorically, from wanting to physically harm, right? Or remove the other people in that dynamic to then turning on yourself. And what we don't realize is like that turn on ourselves where we feel like, well, I'm going to take myself out of the equation because this is so much. It really is a call to your creativity, to coming back home to yourself because you've tried to blame it on the other person, right? You've tried to say like, it's you, I'm threatening you, I'm warning you. And like, there's still no changes happening. So then it has to be me. And when we don't have the experience or the skill set or the resources or the support, there are pieces to this. When we don't have those things, we don't realize that that is a cry for help. Instead, we start to really feel hopeless. We start to feel like, what is the point of us being here? Because if the person that I love so much is not bringing me comfort, why am I here? What am I doing? If my job is not giving me purpose, why am I here? What am I doing? Right? If I can't enjoy being a parent, why am I here? What am I doing? All that is saying to you is that you are attaching your identity to things that are outside of yourself. And you are disassociating with who you truly are. And it's just going to make your entire experience feel very miserable. It's not that you don't want to be a parent, right? You have your person, you have your little person, and they're going to be annoying at times because kids are annoying. Like this is what they do, right? People are annoying, humans are annoying. But when you are so deprived of your artistry and of yourself, you're not going to have the patience or the compassion to really be there for your child after a while. we're we're gonna run dry. We're not replenishing ourselves, right? And if you're not connected to your creativity, you're probably also not connected to spirit. They usually do go hand in hand, right? Same thing for a relationship, for your work. When you are attaching your like, I am CEO, right? Or I am this person's girlfriend or this person's wife, right? That supersedes the I am, like me. I'm me. I'm an artist, I'm Lotus, like I'm myself. That supersedes that. And that puts us in a space where we are really experiencing the worst of the worst within ourselves and probably with that person that we're in a dynamic with. There's no space for you both to win or to grow or to feel safe anymore. If you have to get to the point where you have to threaten them or give warnings, you're no longer in a safe space. And these are things to just kind of keep in mind, right? What's the use replaces our feelings of joy and satisfaction. We may go through the actions of continuing our life. We may even continue to produce creatively, but we are leaching blood from ourselves, vampirizing our souls. In short, we are on the treadmill of virtuous production and we are caught. We are caught in the virtue trap. There are powerful payoffs to be found in staying stuck and deferring nurturing your sense of self. For many creatives, the belief that they must be nice and worry about what others, sorry, there's so many notes here. For many creatives, the belief that they must be nice and worry about what will happen with their friends, family, mate, if they dare to do what they really want to, constitutes a powerful reason for non action. A man who works in a busy office may crave and need the retreat of solitude. Nothing would serve him better than a vacation alone, but he thinks that's selfish, so he doesn't do it. It wouldn't be nice to his wife. A woman with two small children wants to take a pottery class. It conflicts with some of her son's little league practices, and she wouldn't be able to attend as faithful audience. She cancels pottery and plays a good mother, seething on the sidelines with resentment, right? Many recovering artists sabotage themselves most frequently by making nice. We've talked about this. You guys know how I feel about the word nice. There is a tremendous cost to such a virtue. Many of us have made a virtue out of deprivation. We have embraced a long suffering artistic anorexia as a martyr's cross. We have used it to feed a false sense of spirituality grounded in being good, meaning superior. I call this seductive faux spirituality the virtue trap. Spirituality has often been misused as a route to an unloving solitude, a stance where we proclaim ourselves above our human nature. This spiritual superiority is really only one more form of denial. For an artist, virtue can be deadly. The urge toward respectability and maturity can be stultifying, even fatal. We strive to be good, to be nice, to be helpful, to be unselfish. We want to be generous, of service of the world. But what we really want is to be left alone. When we can't get others to leave us alone, we eventually abandon ourselves. That's real. When we can't get others to leave us alone, we eventually abandon ourselves. To others, we may look like we're there. We may act like we're there, but our true self has gone to the ground. What's left is a shell of our whole self. It stays because it is caught. Like a listless, like a listless circus animal prodded into performing. It does its tricks. It goes through the routine. It earns its applause. But all the hoopla falls on deaf ears. We are dead to it. Our artist is not merely out of sorts. Our artist has checked out. Our life is now an out-of-body experience. We're gone. A clinician might call it disassociating. I call it leaving the scene of the crime. Afraid to appear selfish, we lose ourselves. We become destructive. Because this self-murder is something we seek passively rather than consciously act out, we are often blind to its poisonous grip on us. The question, are you self-destructive, is asked so frequently that we seldom hear it accurately. What it really means is, are you destructive of yourself? And what that really asks us is, are you destructive of your true nature? This is so, wow. This is a little bit heavy, right? But it's so necessary to remember that this is what ends up happening when we decide to perform and play nice instead of being our true self. We begin to abandon ourselves. And remember, we talked about last week, right? If we don't have a self to express, we're going to do what? Feel like imposters. We're going to start copying other people. We're going to start feeling jealous and envious because we don't know who we are. We don't have a sense of identity. We don't have a sense of integrity. These are the things that will keep us separated from our artistry, separated from our purpose in life, separated from our ability to move forward and shift the world in the way we were designed to. So it really shows you how crucial it is for you to take good care of yourself, for you to engage in your artistry, and for you to not really give a fuck, you know? And people are going to feel weird about it. People are going to feel like, oh, Jack, why would you behave that way? Or Emily, I expected more from you. And who told you to do that? Who told you to expect more from me? Who said to do that? No one told you to do that. Now look at you. Now you're disappointed. That's not my concern because you projected something onto me. And I just said, I don't want to carry that. Some people are going to be outraged by that. How dare you not carry the heaviness, the trauma, the harmful energy that I'm handing to you. What? You're going to take care of yourself? What? How dare you? Because they have abandoned themselves. And think about that. This reminds me of so many different like visuals are coming to my mind. I immediately think of Soul. Do you guys remember Soul, the animated movie, the Pixar movie, about a man who dies almost instantly. It's a whole nother story. But and then you kind of see the process of souls and things like that. There's like this part in the movie where there are lost souls and they're like trapped in this loop of their worst moment, and they're just sludging along, right? They're dull, they're dark. It's just very like, and they're sludging along. This is the abandoned artist, right? However, in the physical life, they're still getting up and doing things, but there's a deadness to their eyes. They don't have a glow about them anymore because they have separated themselves from what they were here to do and experience. That is what this feels like to me, the virtue trap. And they did it for other people who don't even know the sacrifice that they are benefiting from. And how would they know? Because if you have the ability to be able to tell them that you had to literally sever off a piece of your soul to continue showing up for them, then you shouldn't be in that situation, right? If you have the awareness to realize that's what you did, your next instinct should be, how do I become whole again? Right? So in that way, these people are moving around in your life and they don't know the amount of pain that you're in. They don't know that you have let go of so much of yourself to be present in their life. You're not communicating it, right? This is it's very scary as an artist because we think that the worst thing that can happen to us is that we put our art out there and people hate it. And it's like, no, the worst thing could be that you literally forget yourself. You forget your art, you forget your purpose, and you're just here, moving through life on other people's time, through other people's projections of who you are. That, that feels like being alone. That feels like loneliness. But again, it doesn't mean that it's true. It just means that you have disassociated, you have disconnected from source. You may feel alone, but you are not alone. And the moment that you are able to get the support or the help or the resource that you need to connect back, source is right there. There's not going to be any weight or hesitation on source's end. Does that make sense? This was like a really heavier part of the book that I'm like, I really want to make sure I went over it with y'all in the live. Okay. Let me know how that feels for you, because it is pretty deep. I'm gonna actually sip some of my matcha because I haven't yet. I always do this, y'all. I make this whole matcha and I'm just chit chatting with you guys, not drinking any of it. So much better. Okay. While you guys are commenting, I'm gonna continue because then after this, we're gonna do our EFT session. So we should be ending around like 2 o'clock, which is great because we've been going over the past couple of weeks, which is fine, but it's nice to end on time. Okay. Many people caught in the virtue trap do not appear to be self-destructive to the casual eye. Bent on being good husbands, fathers, mothers, wives, teachers, whatevers, they have constructed a false sense that looks good to the world and meets with a lot of worldly approval. This false self is always patient, always willing to defer its needs to meet the needs of the demands of others. Virtuous to a fault, these trapped creatives have destroyed their true self, the self that didn't meet with much approval as a child, the self who heard repeatedly, "Don't be selfish." The true self is is a disturbing character, healthy and occasionally what? The true self is a disturbing character, healthy and who knows how to play, how to say no to others, and yes to itself. Creatives who are caught in the virtue trap still cannot let themselves approve of this true self. They can't show it to the world without dreading the world's continued disapproval. Then she gives like an example about someone being disapproved, like having that experience. We go back to, are you self destructive? Is a question that the apparently virtuous would be bound to answer with a resounding no. They then conjure up a list of proving how responsible they are, but responsible to whom? The question is, are you self destructive? Not do you appear self destructive? And most definitely not, are you nice to other people? When we listen to other people's idea of what is self-destructive without ever looking at whether their self and our self have similar needs. Caught in the virtue trap, we refuse to ask ourselves, what are my needs? What would I do if I weren't too selfish? Are you self-destructive? This is a very difficult question to answer. To begin with, it requires that we know something true of ourselves, and that is the very self we have been systematically destroying. One quick way to figure out if you are being self destructive is to ask yourself, what would I try if it weren't too crazy? And then you make a list of those things. And then from there, you look at your list and you ask, what would I do if I weren't too selfish? You'll make your list. And by seeking the creator within and embracing our own gifts of creativity, we learn to be spiritual in this world, to trust that God's source, whatever you call on to, is good. And so are we. And so is all of creation. And this way we avoid the virtue trap. Right. And she gives like a little quiz here. It's okay. Like, we're not going to go through that part. But to close out on understanding, right? When we are moving through life and we're having different experiences, we have to define what it means for us, right? My boundaries, my sense of self are going to be very different than maybe Sia's, right? Or Serene's. It might be a different experience. Most likely it will be because we are different people. Some things may overlap because I do believe you call people into your life that there are some type of similarity to, right? They're not like a random human being. When you have that understanding, then you get to sit down and be like, okay, cool. This is what I need. These are my needs. So where someone might feel like this is selfish, this is actually me putting myself first and having a language to say that. I'm not called selfish. But if you ask people in my circle, I am very self first. I do make sure that I'm well taken care of. And I do that because I know that if I'm well taken care of and if somebody that I love needs me, I can show up as best as I can for them. I also do that because I deserve to have my love and affection first and foremost. Because more than any other relationship that I'll ever have on this earth, the longest one I will have is with myself. So I'm going to give my absolute best to me first and foremost, to the point where I'm at a space of overflow. And whatever is that excess is for my people. And it's the best of me. And it has served me so well to have that understanding in life, to really ask myself, what are my needs? And you don't ask yourself this once and then like all of a sudden you're fine. I have to check in ever so often. That's what the morning pages are for, right? That's why I journal, right? That's why I go to my artist day and I see like, oh, I need more beauty in my life. Like, oh, like for my birthday, I knew I needed a day to myself. I knew I needed a day for me to do absolutely nothing. That I had some plans that I could go to if I got, a little anxious or like I wanted to do something. But I knew I wanted to get out of Philadelphia because the energy of the city was a lot for me. I wanted to be in my hometown of New York City. And I just wanted to experience New York City, just walk around for the day. And that's exactly what I did. And I'm so proud of myself for making that choice because a lot of people want to spend my birthday with me, like including like my niece and my nephew. And they are such a soft spot for me where my initial response is like, oh my God, yeah, like I'll just wait till they get out of school and we'll do something together. And I'm really proud of myself putting myself first and doing what I really wanted to do for my birthday. Out of all the days in the year, this one thing I'm going to give myself permission to do on the day I was born. And it was such a beautiful artist day. And it was so replenishing for me. And it reminded me to slow down a bit more and be more present. And guess what? When I came back, all those people that wanted to celebrate their birthday with me, they were there the next day, the day after, and the day after that. They're here today. I'm still celebrating my birthday, but I was able to put myself first. And to some people, they might be like, that was so selfish. Like there were kids involved, or, like your sister was spend time with you. But these people love me and they know that I really want to feel my absolute best when I'm around them. And that means that sometimes I need solitude. I just know that I need a different city to be in, a different headspace. Sometimes that means that my phone is off. Like I just need time. And I have a space where I don't have to worry too much about people kind of taking it to offense, you know? And I say all this to say that if you aren't in a space like that or you don't have relationships like that, that you know it exists. It's a total possibility for you to have this. It's a total possibility. You just have to be honest with yourself about what you want. And then when you realize that you don't have what you want, allow yourself to receive it. That's really that main thing here. Were there any questions or anything that came up that people like want, a deeper response to before we get into the EFT? Everything else after this is like these like the tasks for the week that'll just be in the notes that'll drop when the replay drops. Let me know um, if anything comes up for you. For the EFT session, we're going to focus in on the negative round, like that virtue trap of letting go of the need to be nice, letting go of the need to put other people before us, and not labeling ourselves as selfish, but labeling ourselves as being self first and understanding that there is a huge benefit to us and to the people that we love and care about when we do that. We're going to also focus in on what it feels like, right? To feel the possibility of life, to trust in our connection to source, into universe, whoever you call on to in your time of need, and trusting that you can pull from that infinite well of ideas, of creativity, and allow yourself to expand past your wildest dreams because we deserve that. So we'll do one negative round and we're going to do side of hand, top of head, brow, side of eye, under nose, chin, collarbone, heart, and underarm. And then our second round, we'll do the same thing. And the second round will be positive, where we will be reinforcing statements and affirmations that feel best for us. Okay? So that's what we're going to focus on. I just want to make sure you guys are good. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Cool, 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 cool. Drink some more of my matcha. And this time, please drink some water. I'm drinking matcha. But please drink water. This has coconut water in it, so technically I am drinking water. Drink some water before we dive into our EFT session. And if you're watching the replay and something comes up that you're like, I actually want a little bit more clarity on this, I don't fully understand it, please feel free to like leave it in the comments because I do respond to the comments. I do respond to them. And you don't know, you asking that question can really be beneficial to somebody else. So just please ask the questions, get the insights that you need while we're communing on this topic for this week. Okay. All right. All right. Let's do this. We're going to start with the negative round. So negative round just means that we're saying statements or phrases that we may have heard, that we may have said to ourselves, we may have internalized. It doesn't mean that we're calling this over our life, okay? If you want to know more about how EFT works, I have an entire like Substack post on how it works. And I think I'm probably going to list something where I break down the tapping points and like how they commune to the body. But essentially, as you're tapping on these points in the body, you're connecting the mind back to the body so you have a full experience of how you can process the energy, the emotions that are coming through for you, okay? We're going to do that, and then we're going to sip some water, and then we're going to do our positive round, and we're going to drink some water, and then we're going to close out, okay? So the tapping points are, like I said, side of hand, which is between the pinky knuckle bone and the wrist bone where my tattoo is. You can lightly tap. One finger, two fingers, doesn't matter. You can pulse. You can rub, which is very soothing. You can hover. Or for those that have limited mobility, you can envision yourself being there. It does require a bit more concentration, but it is definitely possible for you to still tap in and connect the mind to the body using EFT. Okay. So, side of hand, top of head where the crown chakra would be, the start of the brow, you're going to tap on the ocular bone there. You'll trace that bone to the side of the eye, still tapping on the bone at the temple. You'll feel the bone, then continue tracing it midpoint underneath the eyes. You're going to tap there, not on the fleshy part, on the bone. Then underneath the nose, above the top lip, in the crease of your chin, you'll find your collarbone. You'll feel where your collarbone is. Underneath, there's like a fleshy part there. It could be a little tender for you. You're going to tap in that fleshy part. Then you'll bring it to the center where you'll feel another bone here, right in the center, and you'll tap there for the heart. Then underneath the arm, you can feel for like the beginning parts of your rib cage to tap there. If you're someone that wears a bra, it'll be where your bra strap is, okay? Those are the points that you'll tap on. You don't need to remember those points at all because you'll be watching me and I'll be guiding you through it, okay? And if there's one point in particular that feels really good for you, I call that your sweet spot. Feel free to stay there. Trust your body knows what it needs and that it will communicate that to you, okay? Nice deep inhale, exhale. Slow exhale, release. And then let's start off with the side of hand. Remember, lightly tap, pulse, rub, hover, or envision. And use your voice and repeat after me because your voice is medicine. Round 1 is about releasing the virtue trap. Okay? Even though I've been taught that being good means putting everyone else first, I deeply love and accept myself anyway. I'm going to stay here and repeat it. Even though I've been taught that being good means putting everyone else first, I deeply love and accept myself anyway. I'm going to go to the top of the head now. I release this old story that my worth is tied to how much I give. Okay? We're going to go to the brow. I've carried so much pressure to be nice, agreeable, easy to love, to be acceptable. Side of the eye. And sometimes I forget that self-neglect isn't kindness. I'm just abandoning myself. Under the eye. And I'm tired of dimming myself to make others comfortable. Nose. I release the guilt that rises when I choose myself. Chin. I'm letting go of the belief that choosing me, choosing my artistry, makes me a selfish person. Collarbone. It is safe for me to be self first. Honestly, that's how my energy stays abundant. Heart. I'm ready to stop performing. And I'm ready to start embodying my truth and my art. Under the arm. So I release the fear that I'll lose love by being authentic. I deserve relationships, environments, opportunities, and beliefs that thrive when I'm fully me. Take a nice deep inhale. You can lower your hands. Breathe into the lower belly. See if you can extend that breath into the lower back. Allow it to rise up into the heart space. And open mouth exhale. Release that go. Drop the shoulders. Really sit in this moment. Notice how the body feels. You might yawn, you might belch, you might tear up. This is all signs that energy is moving through the body. And if you feel nothing at all, this is an invitation to continue tapping in more, continue practicing somatic therapies so that you can really listen to your body. And when you're ready, go ahead and drink some water, and then we'll get into our second round. And the second round could be our positive round, reclaiming creative possibilities. Okay? Cheers. All right. Round two. Side of hand, lightly tap here. Deep inhale, exhale. Repeat after me, okay? I honor my choice to be self first. It keeps me aligned with my divine source. Top of head. I trust that the universe flows through me when I'm in my truth. That's so beautiful. I love that one. Brow. I'm open to feeling the beauty and possibilities of my life again. Let me do that one again because that one feels really good. I am open to feeling the beauty and possibilities of my life again. Side of eye. I give myself permission to expand past what I thought was possible. Under the eye. I pull from the infinite well of ideas and inspiration that lives within me. Under the nose. Every breath connects me deeper to source, to my creativity, to my joy, to my art. Chin. I'm safe to create from authenticity, not approval. Collarbone. The more I honor myself, the more blessings overflow to others. Heart. I'm aligned with the divine rhythm of my own becoming. Underarm. I am limitless. I am supported. And I am worthy of expansion beyond my wildest dreams. Take a nice deep inhale, breathe in. Slow exhale, release. Place your hands over your heart center if that feels good for you, and just notice how you feel. Giving yourself the space to let go of feeling like you have to be nice, you have to give of yourself. And gently transforming that, alchemizing that into the world is my oyster. There's so much for me to see and do and express. And I have every right to do that. And in me doing so, I am loving on myself and on others, people who are aligned with me. And that is a beautiful thing to be able to do. Deep inhale, breathing in. Maybe bringing a smile to your face if that feels good. Exhale, letting go. Okay, coming back to the moment. Hello, hi Lanisha, how are you? Okay, let me know how you're feeling after that. I feel so much more vibrant. I don't know about y'all, but I feel very, very vibrant. I love that. For the notes that'll drop on Tuesday, I'm gonna just have it be the virtual trap quiz along with the Forbidden Joys exercise, and then your tasks for the week along with check-in questions. I'll just keep it very simple. Usually I do like a huge recap, but I feel like honestly it takes up a lot for me to do. But also it just it's very time consuming. But this still gives you what you need, and you can always just watch the replay to get the information. right? Or to re-engage with what we talked about today. And then for the AP notes, the after party notes, I'm going to dive in deeper on a few of these concepts and give like my more raw thoughts on it. I know people are like, what, your raw thoughts? Like, yeah, like this is me in professional mode because we're live. However, there are topics here that I want to dive in to deeper, a bit more and express some insights and then some concerns, right? That are necessary. And I feel like having the discernment to know what should be public knowledge for everyone and then what needs to be behind a certain layer um, of trust in a way, a certain layer of investment so that you can really dive in. So that'll be what we talk about for the after party notes. And that should drop by Thursday. My goal is to try to get things to drop on the same day so you guys have more time to digest it. But also, too, remember that this is always going to be available for y'all. So you can always come back and look at AP notes. The AP notes are for people who are paid subscribers, so they have a little bit extra. But you can always come back and look at them. They're not going to go in, like once you're a paid subscriber, you have access to pretty much everything, whether things go behind a paywall or not. You have full access to all of my stuff. So take your time in doing this. We are on a weekly schedule, but I just want to remind people like take the time to digest information. Um, yeah, please do. Take the time that you need. So we'll be doing that. And then week 6 is recovering a sense of abundance. I'm so excited. We're gonna have so much fun with that one. I may do a break afterwards for the holiday. I don't necessarily celebrate Thanksgiving personally, but we do come together as Black folks and eat really good food. It's just not called Thanksgiving. We just don't do that. But um, if that is the case, then I will probably do a break in between. So we'll have the first 6 weeks done, and then we'll do the next 6 weeks. I'm just gonna see if it's possible because I honestly may not need to do that. So if I do, you'll know. I'll send out an email for November sometime this week. That'll really let you know what we're doing. But after next week, we'll be halfway through this book, through this journey. And for anyone who has not been able to get through this book on your own, I really want you to celebrate the fact that you're halfway through the book. That's a big freaking deal. I'm so in awe of you. And we're going to have so much more fun because now that we've built out our foundation of understanding who we need to be and what we want to experience as artists, now we get to really get on that playful side and start imagining and calling in the more thrilling, exciting aspects of our artistry. It's going to be really good, a lot of fun. I appreciate you for spending this time with me on a Sunday. You guys know I love spending my time with you. And I will see you sooner than soon. There are tons of like mini notes that I've been putting out on Substack around the different themes for the week. And then if you guys want clips or things like that, that'll be available on the TikTok as well. So like there's ways to engage throughout the week. And then remember too that there are tasks for you to do throughout the week too. I always suggest doing 1 to 3 of them. You don't need to do all 10, but do enough to keep you thinking about the theme. Think about what's possible for you for this week. That's really what I want you to think about. How are you limiting yourself this week? Just pay attention. And when you find that you're limiting yourself, write that down or share it in the group. And then let's refocus. Let's use the EFT. Let's use what we've learned in this conversation together to begin looking at the possibilities. I'm excited for myself about what I'm about to experience because I definitely have been feeling this call to expand my thought process of what is possible for me and to not think about what other people have done to gauge what it is that I'm able to accomplish. And it has been a big journey for me. So I know that I'm in divine alignment right now. And I'm excited to see what comes of that. Because me remembering consistently that there are endless possibilities is a big deal for me. And I really hope that you guys have that same aha moment too. Okay. Um, let's see. That felt really good. Yay! This was an intense chapter, really hit me hard. Yeah. This was an intense chapter, right? And I'm like, can you imagine just going through this by yourself? Like, girl, you just told me all this stuff about my life. I am the drama. Like, I'm so happy that we're not doing this alone because it is a very intense chapter. Okay? Yes, thank you. This has been so helpful. I'm so happy, Emily. Thank you for being with us today. Yes, 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 yes. Ashe, 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 ashe. Oh, it's going to be such a good week. Okay? You're going to show up and remember that you are limitless. And in those moments that you feel like that might be a lot to take in, please remember tapping. Even if you don't remember the flow or the words, even if it's like, I just remember that we were tapping here, she tapped somewhere over here. You pretty much tap anywhere on the body. But if you use one of those 9 points, it'll help you to begin regulating so you can get through that moment where you might feel a bit triggered or stimulated. Okay. I really want you to embrace the fact that possibilities are endless, that if you are tapped into divine source, whoever that is for you, you have the ability to get exactly what you want. So you need to know exactly what you want. Okay. Very important. I literally have my Lotus Life deck that I created, my template. I use that to help me figure out what I want. It's a very visual thing. I wonder if I could show you guys what it looks like. Hold on. Some of you guys have the Lotus template. Some of you guys don't. But let me show you guys really quickly. Because I actually been updating it for 2025. Let's see if I can show you guys really quickly. It's like so cute. Okay, let me focus, let me focus. All right. Let's see. How do I? Here we go. Ah, okay, cool. We're gonna switch over. Oh my god, I look like such a grandma. Okay, so here's what it looks like. So this is like the cover, and essentially it is like a virtual. What do I want to call it? A virtual. No, it's like a roadmap, a life map. This is really what I use. Like this is just me talking to myself. I have a page for my ancestors. I have a page for like how I want to move and live in life. These are quotes that like feel really good to me. Like how I want my energy to be perceived, how I want to dress, how I want to look, how I want my body to feel. Like these are all, it goes on and on and on. It's very, very descriptive. There's a few pages of it. One of my favorite parts is like the proof, because these are actual comments from all of you. That have said that, like, my videos or my interviews or my podcast or something has been helpful to them. And I keep this here to remind myself, like, I'm already living in this truth. So I may not have the exact brand deal that I want or like live in the exact country that I want to live in, but I am showing up and I am being seen and I am being cared for by my community, which is a big, big fucking deal for me. But yes, this is what I've been using to help me get through it. This was my last year one that I did at the end, but I'm updating it now and I love it. And this has been something I've been cultivating. I'm thinking I might end up doing a life deck party at the end of this year. I might usually do it around like wintertime. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see how I feel after doing the 12 weeks. But if I'm up to it, we'll do this together. And yeah, this helps me to know what I want. This actually keeps me very honest with myself because visually I can see what it is that I desire. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't have that yet. Or actually, I'm looking at it now and like I don't really feel anything for it anymore. So let me go ahead and get rid of it. And the idea of editing on a consistent basis. I kind of do this like maybe once a week, twice a week. Feels really good because it reminds me of how easy it is for me to remove something that no longer fits into my life or into like my lifestyle. I don't have to keep it permanently like you kind of have to do with like the physical ones, right? So that's really important. Yes, of course. Of course, of course, of course. I will definitely put the information for the life deck into the email. So make sure, Serene, that you're on the email list. Um I feel like it's somewhere on my Substack. If it's not, I'll make a post about it. But I'll put that in there too, because I do normally host a small session at the end of the year and we kind of dream together and plan about like what our upcoming year can look and feel like for us. And you have access to the template and you just have to plug it in with your own pictures and things like that. And then I go through meditations and EFT to help us move through it because it can be a little difficult calling in your dream life. Um, and that's why I'm there to help support you. So we can talk more about that when we get there. And probably by the time we're done with the 12 weeks, you're going to want to do it anyway because you're going to see your life in such a different space. And this really helps you to visualize that. Okay. Yes. Oh my God. Sia definitely has her deck. Her deck is crazy. It's so beautiful. Yeah. Like this is something that for sure I will definitely let you guys know about. Yeah. Yes, because you can make it into a video. I have mine that plays, like, on my TV. It has, like, a little soundtrack to it. My voice is to it. I'm speaking my truth. All that good stuff is there. Um, and it's amazing. Like, I'm so happy to hear that, Sia. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay. This makes me so excited. Yes. I will make sure to do that. I love you all so much. Please have a good weekend because it's still Sunday, and have a good week. And I will see you next week, same time, for us to go over week 6. Okay? All right. Bye.